Welcome to Popcorn for Breakfast. Join us as we travel down the yellow brick road to the merry old land of Oz. Well, that's right, we've seen Wicked Part 1 officially in theaters this weekend. Was it good? Does it live up to the musical? Let's sing.
This is Popcorn for Breakfast, presented by St. Louis Area Smoothie Kings. Now, here are your hosts, Cam and Kirk.
But think of it, you're going to look up reviews for Wicked Part 1, the musical, and you see two guys singing their hearts out to Wicked. Just two dudes in a basement.
Yeah, see, that doesn't sound appealing to me.
Why
at all.
not?
I don't think that sounds appealing.
What?
You do bring up a good point, though, which I do want to dispel, because I feel like people will see this, or even people who like our show might be like, two straight guys reviewing a musical, not interesting. And I'd have to tell those people that's where you're dead wrong, because not only are we cultured, but we, among many other things, love musical theater. Mm-hmm. You more so than me, because you were an active participant in musical theater as an actor. I just have always loved it.
Well, and you were an active participant in the pit.
Yeah, I have done orchestra.
Many a time.
Yeah, I love it. I love musical theater. You love musical theater. We're both huge Wicked fans. I think that's the thing that people maybe would not expect. And so this is like, I don't know, you came to the right place. Like, this is an informed review. Mm-hmm. This isn't just two dudes who like dude movies, like talking about like,
Mission Impossible.
I mean, Mission Impossible is amazing.
Is.
But this is like, I've probably seen the stage show 5 or 6 times total. You've seen it. How many times do you think you've seen it?
I think you're ahead of me. I think I've seen it 4 times.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm ballparking.
I've seen it 7 or 8 times.
Yeah. But I've listened to it. You know, I vividly remember my sister, your wife, huge musical theater nerd. I'll call her a nerd because she's my sister. You got to pick on her a little bit.
Yeah.
She used to show me musicals all the time. We used to listen to musicals all the time. When she got her driver's license, Wicked was the biggest thing going. And we would drive around town and listen to the soundtrack all the time. So, I mean, I feel very close to this musical in a way that I don't feel close to many. Like, I think that there's like 3 musicals that are really close to my heart and have had a big impact on my life. And it's this one, West Side Story in Hamilton.
Beautiful.
So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah. I was looking for pictures because I know that I owned a Wicked t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I found one picture. I know it's the Wicked t-shirt, but you can't see it. It's like I'm putting makeup on for a show.
Yep.
And I'm like turned looking at someone cracking a joke or laughing at someone cracking a joke, and I can see the D and the Wicked lettering. I desperately missed that shirt. It became a paint shirt at one time because it got too small.
Yeah.
Because I've grown into my body finally. So yeah, I think I'm due for some Wicked merch. In fact, if anyone out there knows of some Wicked merch that we could get, I don't know if there's enough going around. I think maybe someone could pass some to us. I think that'd be great.
I think there's a lot going around. It's been quite a heavily marketed film. And I think that's good. I think it will do really well at the box office. I'm excited about that. I'm excited for people to go to the theater and engage with the theater. Mm-hmm. We've got Gladiator coming out this weekend as well. So some are calling it Glicked.
It doesn't work.
None are calling it Wickadiator, which is what I would prefer.
That would be way better.
Nobody's calling it that. They're all calling it Glicked. It's not Barbenheimer, but I think Wicked's going to do unbelievably well. I think for the kids out there who don't remember when this musical was at its height, like, it was Hamilton before Hamilton was Hamilton.
Yes.
It was huge. It was a huge deal.
You had the people of the 60s, or not the 60s, I apologize. The people of the 70s had Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Longest running stage musical. And then it was Wicked. Like, Les Mis was always just around, right? So you can't put Les Mis into that option. But Wicked was so groundbreaking in that it is a story about 2 women finding their way and these incredible ties back to the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I think that's the secret sauce.
It's Frozen before Frozen, honestly, right?
It is tied to one of the most iconic cinema IPs of all time.
Yeah.
And I think in a way we always knew that this would come to the silver screen. We always knew. I think really from the moment that it popped off, like, we knew this would be a movie. And executive producer Mark Platt has been attached to this thing which is actually Ben Platt's father, I believe.
Nepo baby.
We're not going to go on the Nepo baby train.
Let's start.
Mark Platt has been attached to this thing forever, and it just hasn't happened because that's just kind of how it goes. And I think he even said that he was introducing John Chu at a premiere. I think it might have been London or something, and said this movie would not have happened if we hadn't found the right director, and that person is John Chu. John M. Chu, who directed this movie. He's directed a lot of musical adaptations. He directed In the Heights most recently. This is a really interesting picture, and I think I don't remember being like, this is the biggest release of the year, but I like saying that, but I think it is. I think this might be the biggest release of the year. Bigger. What else tops it? Because it's probably bigger than Dune.
It has a wider audience.
Right.
It's
going to do better at the box office than Dune, I think.
What movies have hit $1 billion so far this year? I can't even remember.
Inside Out.
Inside Out has. Something else has. But I don't know what. Or has made at least half a bill, right? So there's a couple out there. It's escaping me right now, but this is going to be big, and it's only going to be even bigger because the Rotten Tomatoes release came today with the embargo lift. Today's Tuesday, November 19th that we're recording, and it came out with, what was the score? 92?
Last check was 92%.
Wow.
Which is really high.
That's a beautiful score for a movie looking to make some dough.
Yeah.
And no one's going to look at anything past that. That first number, they do this little reveal on social that says, it's the tomato score reveal.
Yep.
They say it just like that, and they reveal it.
Tomato meter is what they call it. But yes.
What did I say?
Tomato score.
The tomato score. I think they need to rebrand.
Tomato meter is better.
And they dropped, excuse you, and they dropped the 92%. That's all anyone will see, and that it's locked in their brains, and it's going to be so successful this weekend.
Well, when they first dropped it, I think it was even higher because there were only like 45 reviews, and I think it's ticked down since then. Either way, is higher than I was anticipating, but I'm excited for us to talk through it.
We will talk through it.
And this is again, people who know and love the musical. So if you're here because you're a fan of the musical, you probably are. You're hearing from people like you who know about the musical, love the musical. This is a lot of these critics, they're not musical people.
No.
They're not theater people. They're just movie people, and a lot of them, I'm not going to throw shade at our fellow critics, but I'm just saying they don't know musicals like we know musicals, so
we can. I won't say names, but there are two top tier TikTok, I would say celebrities, because they are TikTok critics that gave the review of the movie, and out the gate they said, I've never seen the musical.
Yeah, see.
And these are not like teenage TikTokers. These people are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they've never seen Wicked. In their prime, they could have seen this on stage.
Yeah, and I think you don't have to have seen it, but all I'm saying is you get a little extra sauce by listening to our review. So
you do.
Let's get into it.
You do. In fact, and before we do, now the last episode, Cam, we talked about veto options. Veto options meaning we give awards on every review episode of a movie. We talk about the accolades of it. So we're going to chat through, and the Oscar goes to, which is our best actor review. We're going to talk about our scene stealer, best supporting actor is what that is. Our showstopper, the best moment or the best theming or best product of the movie. Director's shoes, where we talk about how we would direct it better than John Chu in this case. And then our final thoughts and scores. So what we did a while back is we chose not to pick the same things for each award.
Yep.
We need to do
more fun that way.
And one person gets to go first every other time, right?
Yes.
So we need a little challenge. And Cam, I present a challenge to you today.
No.
Now, right now,
I did not consent to this.
I know.
This is happening against my will. Help.
I know it.
Send help.
Right now, you are positioned to go first.
I am.
A few moments ago, you swore that you would not do.
Oh, please.
The Elphaba.
I will not.
The Elphaba riff. And I challenge you to do it. I have to do it as well.
No.
So you have to do it. If I do it, I get to veto and go first.
That's not fair.
That's exactly how this will work today.
I did not consent to this.
Or I'll even open it up a little more. If you want to sing just one small line from Wicked the Musical, I will allow that to serve as an option. While you think about your choice, whether you're going to participate or not.
I hate you.
That's okay.
I hate you very much.
You can pick whatever song, whatever line you want in the musical. Just run through the whole soundtrack. I'm going to do my Elphaba scream. So guard your ears, everybody.
Yep. I'm taking my headphones off. Unfortunately, I could still hear that.
It's pretty. Wasn't it pretty?
Yep. There's a window right here. It's just shattered into 1,000 pieces.
There's police lights. They're coming after me.
The power just went out in the Tri-County area. It's completely gone.
I've shut it all down.
Well done. I don't know. I'm trying to think because the Wicked musical has been like the music has been stuck in my head ever since we went to this movie.
Give me something. Give me
Dancing Through Life. I'll sing a little bit of Dancing Through Life.
And then you get to go first.
I'm only going to sing the very small part. The part that really tickles my brain is when Norbert Leo Butz Fierro, when, St. Louis native, got to give him a shout out.
Norbert.
When he says, that's what I said, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I was echoing Norbert.
Okay. I was like, did I just stomp on
Did
Norbert?
You stain his name?
Yeah, I can't do that.
No.
I like when he says, they're always trying to teach the wrong lessons. It gets me. It tickles my brain. That's ASMR right there.
Just Norbert Leo Butz on repeat.
Just him singing.
Man, I tell you, I could listen to Norbert Leo Butz all day. There's three musicals that I love to listen to. Of course, Wicked is one. Mm-hmm. The other one is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah. And
the other one is Catch Me If You Can, the Broadway version. And I love him in all of those.
He's amazing.
All right. Well, I guess the fourth one, the last 5 years. And I will let you go first because you participated in my scam of a veto game.
It was a scam, and I will edit all of this out of the episode.
Oh, okay.
So it'll never see the light of day. Just kidding. Okay. And the Oscar goes to. I feel like I need to preface this. I owe this person an enormous apology.
Whoa. I
really do. If you go back and you'll find it somewhere if you scroll through our podcasts, either on the YouTube or in the podcast feed, when the Wicked casting was announced. I don't know when it was announced, but when it was announced, I had some strong opinions about the cast. And on one particular casting in particular, and that I said particular twice, that particular person and role was the role of Galinda, played by none other than pop superstar icon Ariana Grande.
Did you hear that, musical theater nerds? We did say Galinda because that is her name in the stage show.
It is.
Thank you.
And so, hand up, I was dead wrong about Ariana Grande. Dead wrong. And I was thoroughly impressed with her in this role. She's a total pro. She nailed it. Her vocals were great. And I went back and listened to the original Broadway musical as well, because I think my initial take was like, this is a Kristen Chenoweth impression that she's doing. And I think that you can make that case, but I think whenever I initially kind of came out of the theater with that thought, that was cheapening it a little bit. I really do think that she added a ton of her own flair. And I think in a kind of beautiful and poetic way, it is a culmination of all the great Galindas that have come and gone, and the evolution of the character that has happened. Because you and I know from seeing the musical over and over again, there are certain stylings and acting choices that become trendy for these characters, and sometimes they're bad. There's been some bad alphabet tendencies in more recent runs of the musical.
Lots of grunting.
Yeah,
grunting, like
just a lot of weird character choices that I felt like go against who Alphabet is as a character, which I think is a really good character. But Galinda, there's always it's always fun to see kind of what they bring to the table. And I really feel like you could tell that Ariana Grande really studied what was happening on stage with this production, past, present, and now, like past, present, and she's the future now.
She is the future.
It was a great performance, and I've seen Ariana Grande in other films before, and I haven't liked her. Like, she had a tiny part in Don't Look Up, and it was like, I think when we reviewed that movie, I said it's the worst that like anybody has ever been in the smallest amount of screen time ever. So that's pretty mean. But yeah,
but if it's true for that movie,
I think it was true, but at the same time, I had no faith in her for this role. I thought what it looked like to me was a really cheap casting. That's just what it looked like. It looked like they're not trying hard to cast this role, and all that is to say, I was dead wrong. and she brought a lot to the table, and she injected it with her own flavor. And I'm proud to say that I was wrong, because I wanted to see a good Elphaba and Galinda, and I feel like Ariana Grande absolutely did her part of the job.
Yep, that's fantastic. I will say about Ariana, since I can't speak about her in my accolades and my award, I will say that she's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone's cup of tea. She in her professional pop life, right? Some people like chicken, some people like steak, and it really just comes down to your preference over an artist. I think a lot of the questionable critiques before the performance was available, before this movie is available, is that can she pull it off? One thing that I was encouraged by, even though I'm lukewarm on her, I don't really follow her pop life. I would say that I do know that she started in Broadway in a Jason Robert Brown musical called 13, the musical, and she's great. She's fantastic. She pulled it off. She absolutely pulled it off in incredible style. So my Oscar shall go to Miss Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, man.
Tonight, Elphaba herself. This was crazy. I really had no doubt that she could sing the pants off of anything in this musical, and she does. There's not a single missed note. There's not a single moment when she's singing that you don't believe that she's not Elphaba. There is some trouble with some of the acting in some of the scenes, but it's forgivable because we are gifted with this incredible voice. I'm going to set aside the weird social stuff entirely for her. Again, you really have to separate these people from who they are. It's like a Leo DiCaprio film. Like I love Leo with all my heart as an actor. I don't want to see him in real life ever in my life. So just ignore that these are real people. Let's just focus on they are actresses and they are in this film and they are killing it. Cynthia Erivo just nails the role from top to bottom. You probably saw some press beforehand because she has these very elaborate and mind-blowing piercings in her ears. They actually created fake ears to go over those, so that way she didn't have to like painstakingly take each one of them out. And I was worried. I was like, I mean, how often are we going to see her ears? Are we going to see like a whole bunch of it? Is it going to look weird and rubbery? No, we see her ears like any normal performance you would, and it looks perfectly fine. And the green is perfect. They did something. I don't know what kind of application they did for this green, because you are right up with her in so many close-ups, all positive close-ups, and it looks like not makeup. Yeah, it looks like the true color of this woman's skin, and I was just mesmerized by that the entire time.
The way they blended it. Was remarkable.
Yeah. And of course, Elphaba, there's several lines about her having freckles in the dialogue, and I think there's a note in the music somewhere, and you could see the freckles, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there they are. And again, they didn't look like they were on a stage. They looked like, oh, that's Elphaba's freckles. This is incredible. I'm speaking too far out of her performance. Her performance, she really embodied this character. From the moment that she stepped out in all black, and there was no gimmick to her character. There was no grunting. There were no fads or trends with her performance, and I believe that she will go down in history as one of the top tier Elphabas on stage, and of course, the only one on screen.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. This was the other side of the casting that I was excited about. You know, whenever we talked about it on the podcast, I was like, on the other hand, Cynthia Erivo is going to kill it. So now I get the best of both worlds because they both killed it. And people forget how talented Cynthia Erivo really is. I think she hasn't gotten enough shine yet in the Hollywood light for the mainstream to catch on. Yep. This is a long positive stride in that direction for her to be recognized in that way. But, you know, the year that Hamilton was winning all those Tonys, who won one that wasn't Hamilton? Cynthia Erivo
for the color purple.
And it was, you know, anybody who had seen it, which obviously, like, we don't live in New York, we didn't get a chance to see it. Anybody who's seen it, we're like, yeah, that's right. Even though Philippa Sue was in the hottest musical maybe ever, you know, and did an unbelievable job. That just tells you what level she's at. It's remarkable. And her performance was nuanced. It was great. I really liked it.
It was so beautiful. So beautiful. I mean, what more? There's no ill to say towards them. Any misstep they had in the movie can all be written back to the director
And that's really it, man.
Yeah.
Like that's the burning question, right? All of you who have not seen the movie or have seen the movie, that was the question every single one of us was going in to this movie with, is like, can they do it?
And they did.
They did it.
And they do. And they will for all time as they're immortalized as Galinda and Elphaba. Let's move on to Scene Stealer. Cam, you get to go first again. No, wait.
Yep.
Yes, you do?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm going a little wild here. I don't know if this is going to be most people's pick, but I'm actually going with Peter Dinklage, who plays Dr. Dillamond. And
whoa.
Yeah. One of the CGI characters in this film. There's not very many speaking CGI characters in this movie, certainly not ones that have prominent parts. Dr. Dillamond is kind of alone in that regard. And I think that for the way that the direction that they try to take with this film, which is not radically different from the stage show in terms of theming and things like that. Obviously, it stays very close to the source material. But John M. Chu really wanted to emphasize these themes about political radicalism, fascism, you could even say, racism, these kind of societal ills that we have. And when you're trying to drive that home, the character of Dr. Dillamond becomes extremely important, like extremely important. And with it being a CGI character, it in a world where many things that are happening in this movie are practical. You know, the sets are huge, elaborate, practical sets. You've got these CGI characters, which I will admit, at sometimes they do stick out a little bit because they are fully CGI'd animals. But you've got Peter Dinklage here playing Dr. Dillamond, and just to use a stuffy movie people word that I know we try to stay away from, he really injects the movie with a ton of pathos. He gives you that emotional yearning to side with good, you know, because he is being unfairly persecuted against. And it really is sort of the heartbeat that drives Elphaba and the heartbeat that drives the why behind her whole mission. And it gets you fully on board. And it's because Peter Dinklage gives a pretty heartbreaking vocal performance as this goat professor. It's surprised me, to be honest. Like sometimes it can feel like a bit of a throwaway on the stage show version, I feel like, but it's not a throwaway here. It was really important. He nailed it.
Yeah, it's important because seeing it multiple times, there are definitely times where I'm like, I couldn't give a crap about it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly.
And then other times I'm like, that guy, he gets it. He gets it.
And it makes all the difference if you really care about it.
Yeah. It's like the actor's like, I'm playing a goat.
Yeah.
Or I'm playing Dr. Dillamond. You know, that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
My scene stealer today is going to go to Oz himself, the great and powerful Jeff Goldblum. I mean, how can you not? How can you not love this guy? It's a big pillar to stand on that stage to say, I am Oz. How do you characterize someone who has been able to manipulate an entire people of all species and races and creeds? He stands there and he says, I have all the answers. He's a cult leader. It's all
right,
he is.
Right.
And that's exactly what they found in Jeff Goldblum, this whimsical, circular speaking, starry-eyed, big smile guy. Like it's so perfect. And what I love is that you get the Jeff Goldblum persuasion, the Jeff Goldblum charisma, but you also get him working really hard here.
Yep.
He wasn't just being Jeff Goldblum. It wasn't like you're getting a Christopher Walken in a Christopher Walken film. You're getting Jeff Goldblum who's successfully connecting to the source material and really just walking around that set owning it, because it's as if he had lived in that space for years as he's walking around his palace and showing the different toys. He's almost like Walt Disney to an effect, which I really loved that take on it, to see him just play with all of his toys and see himself as playing puppeteer over all the people. He really, really, really impressed me. I thought it was just going to be good old Jeff, and it was much, much more. Great
one. I love it. It's perfect casting. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to our showstopper. Is it a musical number? Is it a set piece? Is it a set element? Is it color? Is it costumes? There's so many incredible things on here. What stopped you in your tracks and said, I have to talk about that when we record this?
it is actually going to be the sets for me, which I thought were beautiful. I think from a production design perspective, it's really good work. I think John M. Chu there's a reason he's getting all these musical adaptations and why people entrust him with it, because he is a lover of the art form of musical theater, and he understands it very, very deeply that whenever you adapt something from the stage to the screen, we talk about it ad nauseum on here, there has to be a reason. Otherwise, he's someone who honors the form of musical theater, and he won't besmirch that whole, he won't step on that and say, this needs to be a movie because movies are better than musical theater. No, the answer from him always has to be, this needs to be a movie because we can do this with it. And I think here it was the sets, it was the scale, it was creating the Land of Oz on film again through this story that so many people have connected with and bringing it back to life in a new and vibrant way. And I think that he really understood that, and he approached it with a sense of reverence, whether it be Munchkinland, whether it be particularly Shiz, the School of Shiz. Mm-hmm. It's something that you just can't achieve on stage, what they've done, which is, you can tell that he studied things like Harry Potter and things like The Lord of the Rings, where you're taking these iconic worlds and adapting them to the screen, and what level of detail you have to have and what level of scale you have to have. He had the vision, and he made it happen with his production design team, and they crushed it. I mean, there's so many things. Emerald City, the train station. There's these huge, elaborate, expensive, detailed sets that they had going on. And I think for me, it put my mind at ease that it's like, okay, this is why we're here. This is why we're doing this movie, because they can deliver things that just could not ever be delivered on stage. And they found the right ways to deliver that sense of wonder and magic that you expect to feel when you dive into something like Wicked or The Wizard of Oz or what have you. So I for me, there's a lot of cool things that he does to keep this thing intact, but the sets are the biggest thing that justify the need to make this movie.
We come to this place for magic.
Thank you, Nicole.
We come to AMC theaters. That's all I could think of as you spoke there. I tuned out like an hour ago because I was like, "We come to this place."
You didn't hear any of that. That's
no,
okay.
Could you repeat it? That'd be really
wonderful.
No, I heard all of it. I just really wanted to throw in Nicole Kidman there. Beautiful. It's really true. It's really true. You cannot create that on stage, and what a perfect reason to immerse an audience into that. People who already love being thrown into this world in a theater. Beautiful. My showstopper is quite easy. It's popular. The whole sequence, the whole musical sequence. I feel that it is one of the strongest pieces, if not the strongest piece. When this piece comes up in the musical itself, I always tune out a little bit. You really have to win me over on this one, because the back and forth is gimmicky. It is stage theater gimmick 101. It's like
old school.
Let's have a cute old school song. This is going to be it. You can tell in how the piano dances and how everything comes together there. But if you have the right people at the helm, if you have the right actors, which in this case it's Cynthia and Ariana, it is magical. And it really is magical. We come to this place.
Knock it off.
For magic. You see how I tied that in there? It's really spectacular. It's invigorating. It's such good camera work because it turns into, of course, a big ensemble piece when they're back into the cafeteria and then back into their bedroom, and then it's almost like, you know what it's like? You know in The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan, and it's the part where they hate each other, the twins hate each other, and they're pranking each other, and the bed ends up on the roof, and there's all those moments right here. Yeah. And he perfectly encapsulated that kind of energy into, I hate this person so much, I'm going to do anything it takes to prove to them I hate them to everyone else, while not taking it too far. Like there's never a moment where there's violence, right? Like I'm going to push her into a river and hope she doesn't come up, right? There's none of that. It's clearly like, I don't like this person. What can I do to express that? And it's such a good sequence. I loved it so much.
Great call.
Now let's tell John Chu. John Chu, we're talking to you. Come closer. We have some notes for you, sir, and Cameron's going to kick us off.
So as much as I've gushed about this movie so far, I do have some big issues with it. And I think I could take this in a lot of different directions, but I think I'm going to go mostly with aesthetic choices. So there's two sides to this coin, right? Like I said, I love the sets. On the other side of it is I think the way the movie looks is not always optimal for the sets that they built and just the overall effect of the movie. And I think that there's a couple things. First of all, there is like a filter on this movie that decolors it. And I know people have called it out in the trailers. It's not as pronounced in the finished product, in my opinion. You know, on the screen that we saw it all on, it looked more colorful than how it looked in the trailers. So I don't know if they've finessed it some, but there's still almost like I don't want to call it like a sepia filter, but there's like something on there that darkens it and kind of mutes things in a way that, frankly, I just find unacceptable when you're making a movie about Oz. And I know that you don't want it to look tacky, but like if ever there was a time you could be tacky, it's Oz. You know, like the movie like was the poster child for Technicolor. Like keep that in mind. When they first get to Munchkin Land, you see the yellow brick road. That's an iconic moment of bright, beautiful colors. There should be nothing muting these colors. When you see pictures of the sets and things in that people took like in person, they look better than how they looked in the final film. So even though the sets were beautiful, it's like we didn't get to see their full beauty because of this aesthetic choice that they made. The other big one is the lighting. He did this within the Heights too. He loves to use natural lighting or natural looking lighting, because obviously it's like a set, to make it feel more real. And so when you're at Shiz, there's just light pouring in from every orifice of the building. There's just light pouring in from the windows. And I like that in terms of, you know, bringing that authenticity and that feel to it. But so many of these scenes are so heavily backlit that you can't see the characters' faces. Like, no, through the majority of the scenes, like the scene in the library where they do Dancing Through Life, and it's this beautiful library. So many of those scenes are backlit, like you can't even see Fiero's face, and he's the one singing the song, like emoting. So that is a big issue. And those are things that really, I think, take away from it. I have other issues beyond that, but for me, it's like unacceptable to not have this thing full blast, as colorful as possible with all the money that you spent on it. We should not be seeing muted colors anywhere at all. And the lighting has to be, if you're going to do that, you have to have a plan for still being able to see things. It's like we chose form over function here, and you can't. They both have to coexist. It has to function too. And if it doesn't, you need to come up with a different plan, because we can't have main characters backlit whenever they're singing a song or having a crucial dialogue. It just can't happen. Nope.
That's so true. Wow, you gave me probably the best options, or the most glaring options for my director's shoes. Welcome. And thank you. I appreciate that. I tip my hat to you, sir. I'm going to start things off. I've got three big ones. The first one is Fiero. You look too old, my friend. You look too old. I blame the makeup artist, because they should have shaved your 5 o'clock shadow. I think that's all it would have taken. You have a rugged...
Because he's not... Sorry to interrupt.
You're fine.
He's not older by much, right? Or
That's
if
right.
if at all.
He's within 6 months reach of Cynthia Erivo. Cynthia Erivo obviously has the green makeup to completely change the shape of her, right? And completely mystify us with what age she is or is supposed to be. Fiero looks like a 45-year-old man who maybe is a firefighter on the weekends. Like, he's a good-looking dude and he can dance real good, but someone should have shaved his face to soften him up a little bit, to make him look just a little bit younger, because he's supposed to be a student.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, probably the most egregious offense to this movie is the pacing of this movie. We get through Dancing Through Life, and then we move on to Oz Dust Ballroom. This transition, these total songs, I believe, are tracked out maybe 15 minutes total stage time, maybe 17 with an extra like vamping, right, to change between sets. So this part of the movie is a full 45 minutes.
Feels
long. It is so unnecessarily long. There are so many, like, there's not even like a cool add-in moments. It just takes so long. There's not extra dance breaks. extra routines. There's not an extra song mixed into any of that either. That Stephen Schwartz has written 2 new songs. We see one of them a little bit later in this part 1. I think the other song will come in part 2 that he's written. But man, it just totally disrupts this movie. And then in the final act, there's also a huge pacing issue with defying gravity. And these are supposed to be just moments where this thing moves. And I don't know if the purpose of it was that he wanted to slow things down there intentionally, or if he said to the studio, here's where we can slow down so we can get a part 2 film out of this.
Yeah.
And it really, really made me mad. Cameron could hear people snoring around him.
Yeah, true.
Because that was like...
that actually did happen.
Yes.
Like literally, like actually people were actively snoring.
Passed out.
Yeah.
Passed out. And it wasn't me. I have fallen asleep in the movie next to Cam before. And it wasn't me this time, so I'm proud to say that. So that's my biggest one. And then one other tag I'd like to say is there's a huge missed opportunity in this movie. I think they pull in all the right stuff from the book. And just a heads up, I've not read the book. Cam has also not read the book.
I've not read the book, no.
They pull in some extra moments you can tell when you've seen the stage musical so many times, like, that must be from the book. That must be from the book. But when we see the relationship that Elphaba was cared for by this talking bear, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. Must be from the book that we physically see this and we see like a whole extra scene of this. They didn't quite land how big of a connection and a big of an emotional connection that is, which honestly should be rewritten into the stage musical, because you're like, oh, I guess this musical is about saving animals when we get to Dr. Dillamon and the blood on the chalkboard, right? But it really comes down to that was such a big moment that it was a missed opportunity to say, look at this. We're adding that she was cared for by animals, right? Animals that have humanistic qualities.
Yep.
And that they shouldn't be discriminated against, and they shouldn't be literally enslaved, like take away their speech and then enslave them. And this was the perfect opportunity, and it would have been such an extra element had they just written like a small extra scene between this bear, I can't remember her name, this bear caretaker for Elphaba and Elphaba herself. It would be so much stronger. The whole core thesis would be. And maybe there's an extra scene in part 2. She's not killed in this. Maybe we see her. Maybe she does become enslaved and in a cage by the Great Oz.
Yeah.
That could be cool. And that could rescue this part that I would be happy to edit.
But to your point, like they're stretching things out that like they could be giving time to this crucial plot element.
Yes.
But instead they're taking elements that have already existed and were already timed out well, and they're stretching it. Like they're literally in the second half of the film, you can feel them slowing songs down.
Yes.
Giving things more time to breathe, too much time to breathe, and just really slamming on the. I mean, 2 hours and 40 minutes this thing is. It's too long because they didn't really. There's just filler. It's just a lot of filler.
If you're adding it, make it count. And this one almost counted. It really almost counted. This part of it has an option for payoff in the second one. They have an option to shave Fiero's face for part 2. And they have an option for editing.
I think he'll be more grizzled.
Full beard, full lumberjack beard. So those are our director's shoes. Cam, it's time to bring it on home. What's your final thoughts and score for Wicked Part 1?
Yes, so to reiterate, big fan of the musical, and I think that for fans of the musical that are watching, that have listened to the soundtrack umpteen times, perhaps you've seen the stage show or both, there's a lot of care given to this, and I think that what I was most pleased with beyond the sets, which I really wanted to dive into today, is the musical arrangements are mostly identical in many, many ways. Like they don't change a lot of the arrangements. They don't change a lot of the orchestration. They do slow some songs down and they add a couple things here and there. But like, if you're coming to hear your favorite songs on the big screen, like you're going to get it and it's going to sound a lot like the way that it did on the original Broadway recording. And I think that's great. I loved having that moment because as soon as it started with the opening number, No One Mourns the Wicked, it stirred some emotions in me just to hear it sound exactly like it did on the Broadway recording. That's always a concern whenever you have one of your favorite musicals adapted. And so shout out to the team for, I know you said that Stephen Schwartz was a executive producer on the film and helped create it. I think that helps, and good on them for keeping that intact. I would say in general, I liked this movie a lot better than I thought I would. I was really worried about it. I had some major concerns from the trailer, from the casting, etc. Most of those concerns were alleviated by actually watching it, and I'm thankful for that. That said, the pacing issues, the lighting and aesthetic issues that I had, there are other issues that, like, at times the mix on the audio, it goes a little bit overproduced at times. It sounds a little bit too much like the studio mix is taking over versus having that nice balance. At times the balance is great, but at other times it's too much studio mix. And so yeah, it has some blemishes, but I think if you're a fan of the show, there's a lot to like here, and you're going to have a good time. I'm excited to take my wife to go see it. She loves the show. I think you have to see it if you're a fan of the show, but I'm not going to go as high as some other critics have gone, apparently, according to the Rotten Tomatoes score. I haven't read any of the reviews. I just saw the number. Mm-hmm. I'm actually at a 6.7 out of 10 on this one.
Very nice. Very nice. What I love about Wicked Part 1, in retrospect, a couple days later, is that this is a musical that the musical itself, it's for everyone. You can take kids. Yep. You don't have to worry about the content. You don't have to worry about curse words. You don't have to worry about it being too scary, right? Wizard of Oz is scarier than Wicked the musical, like, for real. So that's what I really love, and I will really enjoy allowing my kids to see this. I think they're going to love it. I think they're really going to enjoy it. That's a big win right there for me. I also think that this is a very rewatchable film. But man, I got to tell you, when you mess up the pacing of a movie, my score goes down dramatically. And I say dramatically intentionally because they mess up words intentionally.
Yes, they do. Well done. Well played.
In Wicked the musical. So my score has gone down, but I hope one day I'm full force against censoring films, but this one I would be pro post editing it to shrink down all of the extra time that we got in that sequence that took way too long. It literally is just people looking at each other, like, and maybe some establishing shots of Shiz University. Like, it's so ridiculous. I would be pro censoring this and re-editing this after it releases. At this moment, my score, 6.9 out of 10 kernels.
Nice. There's this thing, speaking of, I wouldn't call it censoring, but in anime, they have these, like, they call them shonen animes, which are the ones where people just punch each other all the time. You know, people are just fighting, like Dragon Ball Z, like Excellent. What I love. And there's people that go through and kind of, like, painstakingly cut out the filler. And they tell you, like, here's the episodes you need to watch. These episodes are filler. We need that edit.
Yes.
We need the fan no filler edit. Because imagine this movie as a tight 90. Or maybe they couldn't do it in 90.
They could do it in 2.
They could easily do it in 2. Imagine it 40 minutes shorter.
Exactly.
This thing would be flying and moving, and we'd be on a ride of a lifetime. Because it really is. It is a big issue with the pacing. They messed it up.
It's devastating.
It really is.
It could be, I kid you not, this could be a 10 out of 10 film had they fixed the pacing.
The first hour hums.
Yeah.
Really hums. And you're kind of, at least I was, starting to think, how are we going to get 240? Or I thought it was 2 hours and 30 minutes at the time. I was like, where's that time going to come from? And then you hit Ozdust Ballroom, and it's like, emergency brake on the train. Like, like, let's slow this thing down as much as humanly possible, and then some. And you're like, oh, here it is. This is it.
It's devastating.
It sucks, man. The first hour just slaps.
I should say, maybe, I wonder whose cut this is, right? I wonder if this was John Chu's decision, like, we need some space in here. If it's not, so let's say it is. Let's say John Chu said, this is how it has to be. This is the director's cut is the same as the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
I want the studio cut when they hear all this feedback and they say, it's way too long in this section, because everyone's going to be saying it. And I want, you got Blade Runner director's cut. You've got Titanic director's cut. You have all these director's cuts going out. I want another cut. Like, what was the word you said with the anime?
Shonen anime, the filler cut, the no filler cut.
Honestly, I think just you and I should figure out how to put it on a computer, make the cut, and release it as
we could do it.
The Wicked Part 1 shonen anime.
The final cut.
The final cut.
Blade Runner style.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if John M. Chu got Final Cut on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty rare these days, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't get that. Maybe he did. Maybe that was part of his stipulation to do this because they said they wouldn't do it without him. I don't know. I can't see a studio wanting a musical to go 2 hours and 40 minutes. That just feels against, like...
money.
Yeah, it feels against money.
Repeat that movie as many times in the theater in a day as possible, right? It's bizarre.
So, yeah.
Well, Cam, it's been fun.
It has.
And it well may be that we may never meet again.
Well, this is my last time on the podcast, guys.
Until
It's
the
been
next
fun.
podcast episode. That's right. We have another one coming this week, and we hope that you will join us then. Cam, tell them where they can find all of our social stuff.
Popcorn4breakfast.com. That's where.
I didn't expect you to sing right there.
No, I wasn't going to. I had nowhere to go. I am screaming for help right now. Please help.
Blink twice. Oh goodness, that scratched an itch in me. Let's just say that.
I'm glad you got that out of your system.
Thank you, because our next episode will be reviewing Gladiator, and I don't think there'll be any singing in that particular one.
No. I don't plan to.
Check us out on all of our socials, PFB Podcast on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, on everything. Instagram. That's the one I forgot.
Join our Discord server.
Oh yeah, what's that? Is that also PFB Podcast?
It's linked below in the description. Whether you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, you can find it there, and you can chat movies with us in real time as things happen. It's super fun.
It's very fun. We appreciate everything that you do for us. We'll continue to bring you all the talk about movies and more. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.